morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be having a little bit of a look at the Mr. Mime from Detective Pikachu. As I mentioned in my Greninja video earlier, link in the description, these have been leaked over in North Carolina in French, and there are conspiracy theories, because this is the same way that Evolutions was leaked. But anyway, let's worry less about that and more about the new Mr. Mime. Ladies and gentlemen, this new Mr. Mime is pretty gosh darn good. Now, in terms of the basics, I'm not terribly impressed. 80 HP is low, but not low enough to be grabbed with Professor Ram's lecture, so we're not a fan. The weakness to Psychic is kind of annoying with Garbodor, but also you've got 80 HP, and it doesn't even have free retreat. Now, the good news is you are hitting weakness on Psychic Pokemon, and you can actually do enough damage for this to be relevant at some point eventually. But really here, what we are focused on, what we are concerned about, what intrigues us is the ability. And because this card's in French, I translated this myself. Although shout out to the lovely Mr. Solace who did confirm that I had this correct. What it does is once during your turn, you are allowed to swap one of your face-down prize cards with the top card of your deck. Simple as that. You get to take the top card of your deck and you get to swap it with one of your face-down prize cards. Now, of course, when we say face-down prize cards, you don't know what you're going to be getting, and that's a bit of a pain, but there are some really, really fun uses for this. And I'm going to give you one very silly use right off the bat because I love this. Let's combine this with Makago and Jirachi Prism Star. You see, Jirachi Prism Star is a potentially phenomenal card that we've just never really got working. If you take it as a face-down prize card and your bench isn't full, you can put it onto your bench and take a prize. Problem is, you just never really know that you're going to be drawing that Jirachi. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's where Mr. Mime comes in. Because it says you swap it with one of your face-down prize cards, the top card of your deck. So, as long as it's face down, you're fine. And Mr. Mime does not tell us that we have to shuffle our prize cards afterwards. Sweet! So what you do here is you use Makago to put Jirachi on top of your deck. You then whack this into your prizes using Mr. Mime. And you then not only guarantee that you've got Jirachi Prism Star in your prizes, but you know exactly where it is so you can draw it. And what's great about this, you do not have to use an attack to get this rolling. Makago is an ability. Mr. Mime is an ability. This is not dependent on an attack. We got close to doing this before with Poipole, but the problem with Poipole was that it was never going to work. Because the good news was you got to look at your face-down prizes. Yay! But it was your attack for the turn. And sure, if you were desperate and had nothing else to do, but it was just never going to be good enough. You had to use your attack. And the problem was that every so often you're going to want to use your attack, or at least be willing to use your attack for this. But not often enough. Which means it's not worth putting Jirachi into your deck. This is entirely different. If you want to, you can play Jirachi in your deck, and you can play a 1-1 Makago line, and you can play Mr. Mime, and you can guarantee that either you're going to get this rolling, or your Jirachi is going to be prized. But remember, we want Jirachi to be prized. Jirachi being prized is what we're looking for here. So we have absolutely no problem with Jirachi being prized. And that is a great use of Mr. Mime. I'm not saying it's the only use of Mr. Mime. Not by a long shot. What I am saying is that it is a great use for Mr. Mime, and it's just an example. And here's the thing about Mr. Mime. This is one of those abilities that it might be a year or two before we find the best use for it. But it's one of these that's always going to be sitting around. And it might be even better than this one day, although I love the Jirachi combo incidentally. Here's the thing. If you've got cards prized, this can be very bad. Let's say you're playing a Zoroark deck and you've got 3 or 4 of your double colorless energy prize. That is going to lead to a bad game. And we've got ways to figure this out at the moment, but they're not particularly good. So what we have here is we've got Rotom Pokedex. Now Rotom Pokedex allows us to shuffle our prize cards into our deck and put that many out again. It's completely random, but the chances are if you've got bad prizes, you can swap them around with this and you'll be okay. We've got Gladion. Now Gladion is really the gold standard at the moment. It's a supporter card, but it lets us basically swap a card in our hand, that being Gladion, for one of our prize cards. And we use this because if you've got prizes that you just cannot accept, this will help you. And then we've got Beast Ball, but Beast Ball's just that little bit more specific. Beast Ball says, look at your face down prize cards. You may reveal an Ultra Beast you find there, put it into your hand, put Ultra Beast in its place, and then shuffle your face down prize cards. One of the biggest issues we've got with Mr. Mime being amazing is that we don't have a way of knowing what our prize cards are. Now, that's a slight lie. We've got Poipole. Poipole's attack will tell you which prize card is where. But that's essentially all we've got at the moment. Beast Ball, you've got to shuffle up afterwards. Gladion, you've got to shuffle up afterwards. Rotom decks, I mean, fine, you can change your prizes, but that's about it. Anyone can use an Ultra Ball, and as long as you've got enough knowledge of your deck, you can know what your prizes are. But Mr. Mime is best when you know the position of your prizes so that you can guarantee what you're doing. And this is a combo we used to use in Durant. Durant was, well, I was going to say a lovely little card then, but it's actually my least favorite deck ever. Don't believe me, I literally made a video about it. Link in the description. And Durant discarded the top card of your opponent's deck for each Durant you have in play. So you really needed all 4 Durant. And weirdly enough, we did actually have a Rotom back in the day, which literally had this exact ability. Rotom had the same ability as Mr. Mime. The thing was, we also had Alph Lithograph. And what Alph Lithograph would allow you to do was look at your face down prize cards. So you knew where your prizes were, you would use Alph Lithograph to know where your prizes were, and you would use Rotom to switch them over. Mr. Mime doesn't have Alph Lithograph. Now in Expanded, we've got Town Map, except Town Map wouldn't work here, because Town Map puts your prize cards face up, whereas Mr. Mime specifically says you swap a face down prize card with the top card of your deck. Point being, this is a phenomenal card if you know where your prizes are, which you don't, unfortunately. And the other thing is, right, when you use Mr. Mime, you can use something like an Acro Bike or a Judge Whistle and then immediately draw into the card you put there. So it's actually really nice search. The issue is, you've got to know where your prizes are. And at the moment, the only way we have to do that is Poipole's attack, which is frankly less than ideal. Still great for using Macargo to put something into your prizes. Still useful if you can know where your prizes are. I mean, let's say you've only got 1 prize remaining. At that stage, you should know what it is, and you can use Mr. Mime to grab it back. This is a really fun ability, and just like Rotom from Undaunted, I expected to see play. As for the attack, let's say handy bonus. Flip 4 coins. This attack does 20 damage for each heads. Okay. You can use Victini to try and make sure you get the right number of heads. And look, if you flip 3 heads, attach a Choice Band, and whack a Shrine of Punishment into play, you will get a 1-hit KO on a Buzzwole GX. If you hit 4 heads, you will get a KO on a non-GX Buzzwole. 3 heads, you'll be at 120, unfortunately, which will be a little bit short. It's for 2 energy, so you need a second energy, or you need to use counter energy, or maybe counter gain. It's not ideal. I can see this if you're playing Mr. Mime in a Psychic deck, it's a fine little attack. But it's not why we're playing Mr. Mime. We are playing Mr. Mime for the ability. And it's not like Mr. Mime's used to being an attacker. The one we just got in Team Up stops Ace Roller, it's used for the ability. We've got the 2 GXs, which block all or even attacks. I know they're all even, but you know what I mean. And they're basically used as wall Pokemon. This is another one of them. It's a Mr. Mime with a really good ability that isn't probably going to be attacking. Just like, well, I would say the last 3 Mr. Mime, but I think before that, we had the bench barrier, so let's just say the last several Mr. Mime. I can see this being a nice card. Yeah, the ability is niche, but when you need it, it's going to be amazing. So it's very difficult to give a score to, but let's say nominally 4 Wassies. Good ability, gonna see some use, but not in every deck. It is a very niche card. Alright then. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I would very much like to know what you think about this. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! But please do remember the most important thing. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays for some more Wassie action. Keyforge Wave 2's been revealed. It's exciting. Check it out. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.